Episode 234 of the Downward Facing Spiritual Spiral podcast. We'll probably split this into two episodes because people's attention spans these days, unless you're Joe Rogan, of course, is abysmal. So we'll probably split this into two parts. Polly Humphreys is going to be a part of both of these episodes. She, much like myself, loved the arts. So she's going to be a part of the intro. So welcome to the show, everybody. Of course, my name is Eddie Cohn. Polly.
My name's Polly Humphreys.
Her name is Polly Humphreys. And Polly's an actress here in LA, and she's been on my podcast a few times. And so we're going to decide if this first part is going to be showering accolades or if we're going to be a bit critical. Although Polly might differ and go a different angle in the critical episode. But we'll see where that goes. So today is Sunday, and Succession, the final episode of Succession, is happening in probably a couple hours. So we are either going to have this first half, depending on Polly's energy. I'm going to leave it up to her. Are we going to spend 30, 35 minutes or so talking about why shows like Succession are so important to our society? Or are we going to begin by talking about how this very uncomplicated podcast, Smartless, which I'll get into why I think was so successful, but then why I think many reasons, but I'll just focus on capitalism now, why potentially our cultures yearn for more, or creators yearning for more can ultimately take a good idea and just make it be a complete waste of time. And why I think the Smartless podcast documentary that just came out on HBO Max, why I think it's trying to think of a thoughtful way of saying terrible, but I think it's terrible. But I think there's a very, in my mind, clear explanation as to why it doesn't work. So, Polly's getting notifications on her email. I just heard something it's okay if you can't.
I don't know. I don't know how to turn that off.
Turn off your email or close your email. So, how do you want to start? Which part one? Are we going to go Smartless or are we going to go Succession?
Let's start with the positive.
The positive, okay.
Yeah, we'll do Succession.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I was just listening to a podcast called The Big Picture, and they were saying that it's really easy and fun to criticize something that's bad, and it's really challenging to compliment something. And I will argue by saying, I don't think it's necessarily difficult to compliment or throw accolades or blandishments at something. I think it's just because it's very rare that something really touches our heart and moves us. And I think a lot of things need to be going on. I think you need to be sort of in the right headspace. You need to be in the right mood. You need to sort of be open to something arts. Like you could go to a museum in LA and maybe one day, and this actually happens to me all the time, I'll watch a show and then maybe 2 years later I'll rewatch it and suddenly it's moving me. And I think to focus on Succession, I don't remember being this excited and thrilled for this final episode. I think I threw the word at you, masterpiece, a week ago. I think this season, in particular, season 4, is brilliant. Why are you, similar to me, so excited and pumped up about this last episode?
Because the creators of this show have masterfully built and built and built and built. And as I said to you last time we talked about it, this has taken on, the tone, the gravitas of like Greek tragedy. It is so incredibly well written. And I assume at this point, well thought out. I don't think there is a way everything could have arrived at where we are now in this story without the writers knowing in advance that this is where they were going to get. And I'm going to try not to talk about the writer's strike too much.
Yeah.
We can get to that. But you can't create something like that just off the cuff. And it feels as though they took the time to take every single character's journey to, a place where I am quivering with excitement, wanting to know where it's going to go.
Do you feel this that quivering that you talk about? I felt this way.
Yes.
Well, no, I felt this way about White Lotus, which came out about 5-6 months ago. The second season, the last episode. I don't feel this way very often about shows, and is that true about you?
Yeah, and I love White Lotus, both seasons, but this is in a category unto itself.
Yeah.
I think that this is, I don't know. I mean, it sounds so like a trope to say deep, but it is so layered and, so like all the pieces fit together so incredibly perfectly. And it feels like they've built this mountain of questions and suspense, and each character, each of the kids for sure, and then a lot of the peripheral characters they all have so much invested in, the outcome. What will happen after the election, whether or not the deal goes through,
Well, and you bring up, and I said this to you on the phone a week ago. I mean, these are characters, I was thinking Roman has this lascivious, repugnant, he's just so lascivious, repugnant, and filled with debauchery, and he's not likable. Actually, none of the siblings are particularly likable.
Right.
They do all these terrible things. They're backstabbers.
And nor was their father.
Yeah, he was.
And their mother's kind of shit too.
And there's like no violence. It's not exploitive in any way. So you have characters that aren't particularly likable. They are not using any tropes, as you say, or any simple tools to get us engaged. It's just brilliant cinematography and brilliant writing. But how is it,
and directing and acting?
but how is it able to capture us? Is it just brilliant directing and writing and cinematography? But it's not easy to be that brilliant. So how did they get this equation to fit?
I feel like care went into not only writing this, casting it,
Yeah.
and then paying attention, as happens in all good series, as I've been saying everything about how this was all planned, but the journey that these characters went on as characters, the writers undoubtedly wrote to the actors and what they brought to the roles.
Yeah.
They played like each of these actors brings a flavor to this that another one wouldn't. So to keep that, all of the sort of teenage asshole qualities that Roman embodies also includes his heartbreaking love for his father that he keeps tamped down until these big moments happen. I won't spoil it again for anybody who hasn't seen. Yeah. But I mean, and also these are people that would be unlikable if we didn't know them, but we do know them. That these writers have let us in, so we get to see who's the man behind the curtain for each one of these people. If we were, just on the outside looking in, if we were other characters in that world who didn't know them, we would hate them.
Yeah.
But it's, the joy of the journey that this takes us on is being put in a position where you are, at the very least, sympathetic to what it is that makes these people human.
Yeah. And I think to your point about being thoughtful and time and care, this is why I put such a high importance on good art. And this is why I revere HBO more than the other networks. It feels to me like, look, HBO clearly needs to make $1, and they, like every corporation.
And by the way, they're sinking their own ship right now. The new Max
Yes,
thing.
I agree. I don't know what that's about.
They've been like, let us just be like Hulu and Netflix.
Yeah, and I actually get a little cringy, and because to me it feels as though they still put high caliber art as at the top of the mountain. That's what we're achieving or still striving for, and because you're an actor. I'm a musician, and when I go see bands or shows that ask me how the hell did they do that, that makes me want to work on my craft and get better. And if things aren't that good, it doesn't cause creators to want to strive to be at that level.
Right. It's less aspirational.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that's why my show has often been about. We live in this culture now where you can't criticize, and people are like, oh, you're just trying to, you're a hater, you're just trying to lambaste this person, or just like, as I said earlier on, it's easy to criticize, but if it is important to criticize in a thoughtful manner because we need shows to be this good.
Well, the thing is, there's a difference between criticism and what goes on a platform like, for instance, the hellhole that is Twitter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just for lack of a better way to phrase it, but hating on something and not having anything actually critical to say. Critical in the academic sense.
Yeah.
Not being able to say what it is that's lacking, why you don't like it, but just, spewing venom doesn't do anything except, create bad feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actual criticism is very important.
Well, that's the thing, but because of people's attention spans, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much at all. I want to go back to Succession. But because of attention spans and because people just want to look at a Rotten Tomatoes number like 92, right. I do believe the Kenneth Turans and the Richard, I think, Corliss, or I forget the guy at Time, but their art of being critical, where they thoughtfully, without spoiling it, tell you why Polly should go see this movie or TV show. That art has also dissipated, much like so many other arts in our society. So instead, people just look at that number, or the loudmouths on Twitter take over.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And that's where, the notion that you can't be critical
right.
comes from. It's all part of this invented cancel culture. All of that is an invention. That came with social media.
Yeah.
You can disagree with someone, dislike what they are about, and engage in discussion about that, debate, and have that sort of generate further debate and further thought and further discussion. But if you're just going to say that the other person or the other entity or the other thing, is bad and horrible, and you hate it, there's nothing to talk about.
And I think just last couple points about Succession. It just feels more so than. And it's weird. It's only 4 seasons. It's not like it's not that much.
Yeah.
They they all are so complicated, and I think that's why I like it so much, because our culture now sort of wants human beings to appear like these very two-dimensional, almost robotic creatures, but Jeremy Strong, I think, really embodies to me the most, but even Tom, because as much as Tom can't stand his wife or gets frustrated by her, he still yearns so deeply to get her approval and her love, and they can argue on the balcony with words and that I can't believe were written, because it's just this almost beautiful, as you say, Shakespearean dogfight verbally. But then a moment later, she will look at him and want to go back to the hotel and raise their kid and be together. It really, to me, embodies the multifaceted, complicated world of human beings. I think more so than just about any other show.
What just popped into my head that may or may not be, you can take this out in post if it doesn't work, but this is written the way a good book is written.
Yeah.
You get into their psyches the way the time. It's a show that takes time. It takes time with each of these characters. Again, Tom being a great example. Like we know him well enough to know that he's a combination of wanting her and wanting to be her. Because we've seen it for 4 seasons, and these writers have taken the time to, and cousin Greg, it's Greg, right? Or is it Craig?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's cousin Greg.
He too, frankly, even Greg's grandfather, the brother
who gave that amazing speech. Yes.
We knew, and when we saw him get up there with those half glasses, that some shit was going to happen, something was going to go down, in a way that is different than most of other TV, because they have. It's all about. At the end of the day, everything is about relationships. That's what we care about. That's what we want to see. There's no interest in watching a day where everything goes well and people go home and watch a little TV and go to bed. Who gives a fuck? Nobody.
I think what's also really, my point is, I think there's something enjoyable because culturally we think billionaires have it all. And when we see billionaires having the struggles that we all go through, there's some sort of redeeming quality, I think, that we all feel, or we feel. Well,
it's not I mean, at the end of they're still horrible people.
Yeah.
But we want to see.
We're all human.
What's going to happen to them, and we're kind of rooting for them because we do see their humanity.
Who are you rooting for?
I'm kind of rooting for Shiv.
Okay.
I feel like, the two brothers sort of like just poo-pooed her, ganged up on her, shut her out. She's also, it appeals to my personal shit. She's the most liberal of them.
Yeah. She's
the one that sees that the new president is a nightmare and actually is concerned about it, but only so concerned, It's not good for the country, but she's still in it to win it.
Yeah.
In the Roy world.
Yeah.
So yeah. And by the way, I moment by moment, I root for each of them because you see their pain. You see their struggle,
Yeah.
I can guarantee that I'm never going to root for the real billionaires who, fuck us all with the way that they behave.
Yeah.
But if I knew them, I might feel differently.
Yeah.
Right? I mean.
Yeah. And to me.
They've written humanity into these people.
Well, that's an interesting point. And yes, they have written humanity on the one hand, but it's weird to me. Jeremy, I forget his Kendall.
Kendall.
It's weird. Like they're all so selfish. Evil's a strong word, but maybe malevolent.
Yeah, but they're not evil or malevolent.
No.
That's the point. That's why we do root for
But
them.
I do feel like Kendall is
They're amoral.
Yeah, but I do feel like Kendall is the only one where I see his heart pop out. Like
Wow, really?
Well, Roman's heart to me only pops out when he starts crying for his father, but I think he doesn't give a fuck about anyone. Shiv, again, has those moments where she gets conflicted by her dad passing, but everything else that I see from her is always self-motivated. There's something about Kendall where he has those moments, and they write it in, where he finds out his sister's pregnant, and he actually seems to be considerate about that, and he actually seemed to be really sympathetic to Roman when he's crying after trying to give his eulogy. It just
But they
feels.
all have those moments. They all.
Okay, I don't see it in anybody but him. It's strange.
You're blind.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
You're blinded.
and
by
it's weird.
him.
I don't like his character at all. Like that whole frat boy jock calling everybody dude in the boardrooms.
Right.
There's something so annoying about his character also, but I do see his heart pop out every now and again.
That's interesting that you see it in him exclusively, because I see it in all three of them.
Okay.
And it might be that the other characters don't appeal to you as much.
Maybe.
So it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So their sort of heart moments don't matter as much.
Yeah.
Often I think with Roman, you see them in regret after he undercuts someone, or he is made to undercut someone, when his dad had him fire Jerry.
Yeah.
He clearly felt horrible afterwards and did what he does, which is push it down.
I do think.
Anyway.
No, I do think Roman is this interesting character where, to me, he is the least three-dimensional. Like, they have used him in so many ways as comic relief. Like, he always is sexual, and he always just is perverted, and everything is a punchline with him. But
it's interesting that as you talk about a show that you feel is well written, then you're saying they use him as comic relief.
Well, I think every character.
Could it just be that that's who he is? He is the least mature of the three.
Absolutely.
Oh, the four. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that you even say three, and Connor is just forgettable all the time. And
that's certainly the way that his family feels about
interesting.
him. They wrote that too.
So there we go. That's how we feel.
Connor's wedding. And that was a time when, all three of the siblings were pretty shocked and upset that their father was not even thinking about Connor's wedding.
Yeah.
That was, humanity.
So we're going to close this episode, but last question, just to sort of get people thinking about maybe nuance and perspective. If you haven't seen Succession, it's brilliant. It's a must watch. I put it. I think I'm going to say it's either my, 6 Feet Under, Breaking Bad, Succession. I think Succession might be. It's weird to say this because I'm living through it now, and I remember living through 6 Feet Under and feeling the same way as I do now. But it's certainly in that top 3, top 4 show for me of all time. Give me your other top 2, 3, 4 shows, and is it the best or is it too hard to make that decision?
It's, it is the best because it's what's happening right now. Like
right.
things, television evolves. Sopranos for me was kind of the OG. It's so amazing and mind blowing. And it's like it's like listening to the Beatles now, which
Yeah.
I do, and I'm like, whatever, it's fine. And at the time they
Yeah.
were doing something that hadn't been done. So Sopranos was, not TV. It was HBO.
Right. Yeah.
And it was the first to kind of take that long family saga down the road that we all enjoy so much. So there's Sopranos, there's Breaking Bad. And I didn't watch all of Better Call Saul, but it was pretty fucking good too.
Yeah. I didn't get into it. I tried. It just wasn't happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I was, and then so maybe who knows. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, and definitely 6 Feet Under
Absolutely.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, um,
I know we're
Oh my
forgetting.
God.
Homeland I thought was fantastic. I mean, there were a couple seasons in there that I thought weren't very good, but I loved, for 10 seasons, I thought Homeland was brilliant television. I loved that.
I never saw Homeland.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's, Claire Danes does her annoying Claire Danes thing, but gosh, it is incredible. There's a couple seasons in the middle, but wow, I would one day check that out. I thought that was brilliant. Yeah.
And I've heard also that The Americans is great, which I've never seen.
I
Have you?
really loved it, but then I got bored with it. To me,
You got bored,
it's just,
okay.
yeah, I couldn't hold on to it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
no, there's one that's I can't.
On the tip of
I'm
your
having
tongue.
one of those moments where it's like a show that I love and I can't think of the name
Yeah.
of it. This is the onset of old age. The one about the advertising
Oh, Mad Men,
agency.
Mad Men.
Mad Men, yeah. I
That's-
was super into Mad Men.
that's on everybody's list. I haven't even watched it, but that's on everybody's list also.
You should check it out. It's good.
Well, that's
All right.
Holly. Don't say goodbye, but this is the conclusion of episode 234.
I'll just say adieu.
How do you pronounce that? Say that again.
Adieu.
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 Adieu. Episode 234, Downward
Mon
Facing
frère.
Spiritual Spiral. If you enjoy the show, you know the drill. Like it on iTunes, share it with your friends. We'll be back with episode 235 momentarily. Thanks, Polly. I'll see you soon.